Welcome to Business Pants.
This is the Russian immigrant edition?
This
What is that? What is that? Transylvania?
Free Floats Media. I am Damian Rollis. That is Matt Mascardi.
Hey, how was your day today, Damian Rollis, my
Good
founder
enough
and co-conspirator?
I put on a business shirt today.
I know, you are business shirty.
Yeah, my hair was it's been this way for my whole life, but it was just even more ridiculous than it usually is. So I was like, I'll fake people out by putting on a business shirt.
And everyone's fooled.
Yeah. Yeah. I look like Alex P. Keaton now.
You just dated, like, the one person who's
fun.
watching us is like, what are you talking about?
Well, I was going to say something way meaner and snarkier, and I was like, nah, I'll soften it.
You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy today.
I don't want to be a jerk.
What do we got going on today?
Yeah, we're going to keep it simple today because your kids are sick and you seem a little bit sleepy.
I am exhausted, but hit it.
We're going to talk about our favorite war, the Cold War between the U.S. and China. We've got a few tidbits there.
Is that our favorite?
No. We have a nice topic in Dystopia about fake news.
A nice dystopic topic.
Yeah.
That's what you come here for.
I think I was a creative writing major, and the best modifier I could think of was nice. That's the best I could do. I need more caffeine. In viewer mail today, we have some information from our first troll.
No, fan.
And a new fan. Okay, two fans.
Nothing but fans.
Plenty of biz nuggets. And Matt's gonna make something.
Yeah, I'm gonna make something simple today. We're gonna go.
That's our show.
We're gonna go simple on the Matt Makes today.
All right.
So let's get at it.
All right. Play me in. All right. I'm gonna start today in wars, but I had some feedback from a listener, Matt. Again, I don't make this stuff up. This is genuine. We have a genuine audience. I don't know if it's one. I don't know if it's 100,000. I'm guessing it's like 80,000.
Yeah, we are the Los Angeles Chargers, so probably more like one.
But he had some. First of all, he had some very nice feedback. So I'll. But I'm not going to talk about that.
No.
He had some criticism, and one of those things. He had some constructive criticism, which is my favorite kind of criticism. Because just saying that it's good is really it's nothing.
It's boring. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things he suggested is that we talk more about our categorization, which I think is an excellent idea because it's something that that we're sort of proud of here because we're trying to redefine how the business news categorizes stuff, right? We're trying to make it less boring, more informative, more evocative, right? So what I've decided to do is every time I introduce a new category, I'm just gonna briefly talk about how we came to that term. Okay, Matt? You okay with that?
I'm fine with that. I'm bored, but fine with that.
All right, so wars. So we're gonna start with wars. So we developed the wars category when we started to notice how many of our cold news stories fell under the simple premise of corporate entities fighting against each other, really. I mean, it's that simple. Fighting against each other for the same cookie, right?
Everybody wants a cookie.
So at the top of the pile is everyone's favorite war, probably the streaming wars, right? Netflix, Disney Plus, all that crap. And then you have lots of other wars. You have the delivery wars, everyone promising to deliver in -7 seconds. You have the space wars.
Takes too long.
Uncle Jeff versus Elon. You have the trade wars, usually the U.S. versus somebody. And then you have the granddaddy, the new Cold War, U.S. versus China. So that's where wars started. So when I reference wars, that's what we're talking about. So today, you want to add anything there, Matt, before I begin?
Oh, hell no.
You okay with that? Okay, so today we're gonna talk about the Cold War, U.S. versus China. Yeah, baby.
Get at it.
All right. I bring this up a lot.
They're expecting this to maybe start to stop being a war.
No, stop it. I refuse that. I mean, maybe they'll work out some of the kinks of the trade war part of the Cold War, but I think the Cold War part of the Cold War is going to get way more fascinating. So here's why. Here's why I think this, at least today. So
Right
first,
this second.
first, U.S. Attorney General William Barr wrote a letter to the Federal Communications Commission saying that Chinese technology giants Huawei and ZTE cannot be trusted.
Hmm.
That's big, right? That's a big statement. But then, at the same time, the Trump administration is set to issue a 90-day extension of a license allowing U.S. companies to continue doing business with Huawei, right? So it's a little bit like a little bit we hate you, but we're gonna keep doing business with you. And the other hot topic is is gonna be this. It's gonna be this for a while. Is TikTok, right? So red hot video app TikTok has been taking a beating from U.S. lawmakers and regulators over accusations that it is exposing America's youth to the Communist Party, that is smuggling their data to Beijing servers.
Probably true.
But the reality is that TikTok is a juggernaut, right? It just hit 1.5 billion downloads, and it continues to outperform even the app gods like Instagram. And the key takeaway here is that even company insiders at TikTok are increasingly, getting uncomfortable and viewing the company's Chinese ownership as a liability. In an interview with the New York Times, TikTok CEO Alex Zhu is even considering reorganizing TikTok as a separate company with a new board. So this is kind of powerful stuff from our world, right? Would you
See,
say,
that
Matt?
part's interesting to me because, I mean, I guess, I guess
Yeah.
everybody's sort of desire is to be their own Mark Zuckerberg, and the only way to do that is to not be in China at this point, right?
Yeah, which is weird to me. But yeah, keep going.
But on the Huawei thing in particular, like what's 90 days really? Like companies sort of like they can't you can't switch your supply chain that this quickly. And when the supply chain is volatile, the incentive is to basically switch up to something that's less volatile. At the time, though, when the U.S. like went after Huawei the first time, a lot of companies were like moving to Vietnam. They were looking at other supply chains.
Hmm.
So extending it 90 days, is that really a thing? Like, do we really care about that? Like, it seems like more like a political maneuver than it does like
Well, what it's doing is
corporate
it's propping
implication.
up, it's helping U.S. firms. Out of the $70 billion that Huawei spent buying components in 2018, $11 billion of that went to U.S. firms. So I'm guessing they're pretty pissed off about
Yeah,
that,
they were
right? I
going to
mean, they
be
don't want
pissed no
that money
matter
cut off.
what.
It's kind of like an NBA situation, right? I mean, there's money to be made.
It seems like the forces coalescing against China, so to speak,
Hmm.
are like Bill Barr and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump. But everybody else is kind of like, eh.
So you think it's that simple? Is it just like a right wing
I
thing?
mean, I know there's real, and we've talked about this in past shows. There's like real implications to the China data thing, right?
Uh-huh.
They monitor their citizens, they have data. That's kind of like a real the IP theft. That's a real thing. But for the most part, corporations, I mean, I don't think they were looking for a trade war.
Right.
Were you? I mean, we made a nice header. It does
Uh,
make a nice header.
were we looking for? I don't know. I mean,
I'm bored. Let's have
I
a war.
okay.
We
Uh,
can be like the FedEx guy, and we can meet the CEO of New York Times out behind the
yes, I
FedEx
actually, yeah,
truck.
I got more on that later. Yeah, I'm confused by the China thing because part of me is like, just get over it and let them compete. Like, who cares? Um, but the other part is that it's just like I guess I'm realizing that U.S. companies like Zuck, they need a boogeyman, right? They almost need this thing to coerce American regulators to leave them alone, right?
Hmm. You think
So
that's
I
the
don't know.
big play? That's the big
Yeah,
play.
it's
Let's come
part of
back
the
to that
play.
because
All
that
right.
seems like a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe.
You heard it here first. Maybe things being introduced.
Sort
All right,
of.
Let's get out of the Cold War. Okay, Dystopia. Oh, and I want to credit. Sorry, I forgot to say this. I'm crediting this great fan feedback, and we welcome all fan feedback. This is oh god, I already forgot his name. Dan. Shoot, what was it? Dan.
This is professionalism
Dan.
at its height.
Yeah, I know it's Dan. I'm gonna get back to you on this. I know it's Dan. It's a fine British gentleman living in France. Dan Evans. Thank you, Dan Evans. And thank you for listening. And great feedback. All right, Dystopia. So we started the dystopia category as a catch-all to the myriad of stories which cover a simple and threatening premise, right? An imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice.
That's
Typically one that is
deep.
totalitarian or post-apocalyptic,
This is deep
right?
for us.
Yes, it is.
Mostly, it's me ranting about the end of civilization.
So our dystopia stories are typically tech-heavy and big brothery, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say.
And that seems just, I think, and I think this is probably why we landed on this category, because it seems like a response to Silicon Valley's infamous "we are building and selling utopia" business model horseshit, right? So that's dystopia. Does that make sense?
What is dystopic today, though?
Today is dystopia. I like this. This is feeling like a Tide commercial. There's a new study out of Stanford University. Speaking of Silicon Valley dystopia, whatever. Yeah.
Correlated?
Yeah. So this new study out of Stanford is showing that young voters are really bad at spotting fake news, right? So they actually did a study on this. So here's how the study worked. Groups of high school students were shown a grainy video on Facebook in which poll workers appeared to be stuffing ballots. The video had been posted by a user who went by the name Eye on Flicks. I don't know why I added that, but anyway. The video claimed to show scenes from the 2016 Democratic primaries in Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, and the caption read, "Have you ever noticed that the only people caught committing voter fraud are Democrats?"
Hmm.
Of course, none of it was true. The video actually showed voter fraud taking place in Russia, not the United States, but 52% of the students concluded that the video provided strong evidence of voter fraud in the 2016 Democratic primary.
Well, I will say this. My kids could not
Please.
distinguish when I told them on Halloween that everyone dressed as a ninja was a Democrat. So apparently it's a very effective tactic. It can be none of this is that surprising. Could we ever distinguish what was true and what was fake? I mean, can you think of a period in humanity in which, when given a piece of information, most people
Right.
just don't believe that piece of information?
Well,
Our problem is the
yeah.
dissemination of the information. It
Okay.
isn't the information.
Yeah, it's too much of it and too quickly. I mean, because in the past, when because I'm old, we were taught to find reference sources, right? To find, at least three sources that back up your claim. Blah 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 blah. I don't think people have the appetite for that anymore.
I very vividly remember going to my high school friend's house, and we were outside playing like volleyball or something, and started a debate about
Sounds
how
ideal.
much, what weighs more, a lion or a tiger. And he just said a lion. There's no doubt. And he said it in a way that
Right.
everyone was like, must be a lion. Must be.
Yeah.
I think that's all fake news is.
You're describing my experience working at a corporate job for the last 10 years. The first person who has an answer is the one that the room.
It's not just first. You can have the first answer. You have to be the loudest and most
Loudest.
assertive
Okay.
about your answer. So,
So, okay, to wrap this up, I got a couple of questions here. How do we deal with this? Is this like does the education system deal with this, or do corporations deal with this? I mean, what's the
well,
who
that's
deals?
that's what Facebook is like under the shiny lights for right now. They don't know how to deal with this because I don't know that they care much about it. And Snapchat just came out, the Snapchat CEO, and said they are going to fact check political ads, and
Okay.
in stark contrast to Facebook. I think now they're using it as marketing ploys, whether or not they can actually do it. But it's the war for what you believe is like that. Maybe this should be wars. Maybe it's not dystopia.
Data wars,
I mean, it's like the belief wars.
belief wars.
It's not a sexy title. Let's
Yeah.
workshop the
Okay. All right.
title.
All right. Let's move forward.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Viewer mail. I'm not gonna define this one. Dan Evans. Okay.
Evan's like,
This
what the
is.
fuck, man?
I, I'm happy to report that we're getting enough feedback that we continue to have this category every day. It doesn't mean we're getting a lot of feedback, and again, we welcome more, but we're getting enough. It's trickling in day by day that we have something to say. So let's say something. Our first bit of viewer feedback is from a man. Oh, sorry, a thing, a person. I don't know, whatever.
An entity?
An entity named Taz D on YouTube. Yes, we are also, don't forget, people, we are live streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Our videos are posted on Twitch and YouTube, as well as being able to download the audio version of this on your favorite podcast provider. So this is what Taz D had to say, and I don't know what we're doing here, but this is what he had to say. There's a research method referred to as watching the original full interview. Just search and play easy. What the hell is Taz Z talking about, Matt? I don't. What's going on here?
So first of all, this is clearly somebody who's a fan of the show.
Yeah.
They're talking about. So Taz, thank you for watching. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Keep watching, Taz. I love you.
They're talking about the Leon Cooperman bits, or at least it was the message was on the Leon Cooperman video, one of the videos we did,
Right.
about
Whiny
billionaires
billionaires.
crying and whining
Yeah.
and stuff like that. My sense is that Taz just agrees with us because we said it, right? So I think we have a fan.
All right.
I'm happy about this.
Okay.
Tazzy D, join us.
You notice that all we're really doing is shamelessly repeating these people's names so that they'll continue to listen and watch. That's all we're really doing.
Well, Taz D might be our only watcher,
Right,
and
Dan
or
Evans?
listener.
Let's not forget Dan Evans.
Oh, Dan Evans, who
Yeah.
you bored the shit out of, giving an
No.
explanation of every single
No.
topic. So,
No. I don't bore the shit out of anyone except for everybody. All right. Speaking of Dan Evans, he had another great idea, which we're going to implement. So here it is.
okay.
He suggested that we have sort of a segment on business definitions, right? Like almost akin to Investopedia. And this is for people who aren't in the industry, right? For newbies, like some of our listeners, like Dan Evans, who just want to learn about certain topics, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start that tomorrow. Our esteemed expert Matt Mascardi will be defining shit for you, Dan.
An
Right?
expert. I've never been an expert at anything. This is really gratifying.
Well, now you're gonna be a definition. You're gonna be an Investopedia ripoff expert. That's what you're gonna be.
I'm gonna call the CEO of Investopedia, who we have chatted with here at Fleet Float Media. We're gonna have him on, and maybe he can answer some of these questions direct.
Yeah. So, are you saying we're coming for you, Investopedia? Is that what you're saying, Matt?
I'm coming at you, Investopedia. I think we got a shot.
Let's close up the mailbag. Yeah,
All right.
we have a shot. There's always potential, Matt. Always potential.
Let's get into some nugs.
Biz Nuggets.
It's so
Business
relaxing,
Nuggets.
that harp.
Okay, Biz Nuggets. All of our favorite quick and dirty headlines that are either not easily categorized or just don't necessarily merit a deeper dive, but deserve attention. And yes, I can't believe I just defined business nuggets, but I did. So take that. Here we go.
We are sad. Go.
Yeah. First, some updates on stories we've been covering. FedEx, which just challenged the New York Times to a debate because it hates being called out for failing to live up to its promises to invest its Trumpian tax windfall back into the American people, has just announced that it is closing its pension plan to new U.S. hires starting in 2020, opting instead for a new 401k plan. As a reminder, FedEx's tax bill shrank from $1.5 billion to less than zero. So, Matt, uh, pension plans versus 401k plans, do you have any quick insight there?
Defined benefit versus defined contribution. One plan, your pension plan,
Yeah.
someone else agrees to pay you the money.
That being FedEx.
Your 401k, you get some money and you hope that your investments go up. That's pretty much the difference.
Way to give back, FedEx. Way to give back. I'm looking forward to the debate, by the way.
It's just defraying risk. FedEx no longer has the risk. They actually have an underfunded pension. I actually looked it up yesterday because I thought maybe the New York Times, the chief editor of the New York Times would hit them with things like, "How's your underfunded pension doing after that tax break?"
Right.
But they do have an underfunded pension, which is driving some of this, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, I know where they can find some more money, but anyway. We reported
yesterday. Find us some?
Yeah, well, we're getting there, Matt. We're getting there. We reported yesterday that Uber founder, party boy Travis, I'm just going to call him Travis now.
Trav.
Has sold more than $700 million in stock since Uber's lockup expired last week. That figure jumped to $870 million overnight. Just wanted to update you there.
Good.
Keeping tabs on Travis. Pay for failure. That's what I like to call it. And our last update here covers new McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczinski's initial letter to employees, and is most notable for what it doesn't talk about, and that is the swirl of negative headlines over the company's mishandling of sexual harassment.
Good. Oh, well. The reason why he got the job. Probably shouldn't address that.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, let's.
What percentage of it the letter dealt with meatless meat, though? Was it a lot?
Not
enough.
That's a good question. Yeah. Does McDonald's, are they doing the meatless meat yet at McDonald's?
Well,
or they're sniffing at it.
Their ex-CEO, Easterbrook, was anti-meatless meat.
Okay. So maybe that's why he really left. Because he's not smelling the joy of plant-based.
Not on the fake
patties.
Meat train.
Yeah. All right. Because I made a commitment shamelessly on Twitter to talk more about environmental news, I'm going to do it again today.
Pandering.
I know you hate this.
I hate the
Deforestation in Brazil's Amazon rainforest rose to its highest in over a decade this year, confirming a sharp increase under the leadership of the country's right-wing president. A new report found that wind speeds are now picking up after 3 decades of slowing. If current trends continue, by 2024, wind turbines could generate 37% more power than they do today.
Wow, that's a weird one.
Yeah. And lastly, nearly 60% of contaminated sites in the United States earmarked for environmental cleanup are located in areas vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. I'm not really sure what to say about that.
I'm not. That should be in Dystopia.
Okay. So that's what I got in the environmental news bag.
The Amazon one's interesting. I saw a talk yesterday on this.
Yeah.
And it's cattle that's your industry that's going to get killed because they need to deforest so that they can like raise cattle and certain crops. And if they stop being able to deforest anything, then suddenly their industry actually takes a hit. So
and Beyond Meat trends up.
And there you go. Steve Easterbrook out of a job for a reason.
New York prosecutors say former WorldCom CEO Bernie Ebbers is faking dementia to get out of jail time.
Ouch.
Yeah. In case you've forgotten, Bernie's WorldCom shenanigans resulted in $11 billion of inflated assets, the largest accounting fraud in American history, until Bernie Madoff came calling.
Something about Bernie.
Bernie. What do you think the Bernie brothers think about all this? The Bernie bros. What are all these Bernie scandals?
They're waiting with bated breath.
Finally, in gay chicken news, really the best kind of news, Chick-fil-A said it has stopped funding two Christian charities with histories of opposing same-sex marriage. The fast food chain has faced criticism in the past for its charitable donations, and CEO Dan Cathy's public comments opposing gay marriage. So, a win for stakeholders, Matt.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, right? I mean, isn't it kind of? Is it? Can we take some credit for something ever?
No.
No. All right, let's get out of our biz nugget bag and Matt, why don't you make something for us?
Matt makes a real estate transaction. All right,
Okay.
so yesterday I came out pretty hard on having billionaires save us by buying real estate near them where there are environmental disasters. It's a little circuitous. I kind of missed some. I didn't talk about some steps that I took. Today
Right.
we're gonna
Sorry,
we're
move
gonna
forward.
play slow, and
Yep.
we're gonna do something basic, because what I realized when I got all this data and I was playing with it was, if you are buying real estate, I'm curious what basic environmental or weather related risk terrifies you the most.
Yep.
Now, I'm not including like earthquakes in here or volcanoes, because
No, why
volcanoes don't happen very
Okay.
quickly or many places, and earthquakes are not an environmental disaster, so to speak. It's hard to get a lot of data on it. So here are your options, and I want you to play this game.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
They're super basic. Ready?
Got my business shirt on. Yep.
Floods,
Uh-huh.
hail,
Yep. Hail.
heat, drought, like extreme heat,
Drought. Yep.
or tornadoes, I'm calling them.
Storm. Okay. So what's the question?
Which one of these terrifies you most? I'll start there.
Okay.
I'm going to go through all of them,
Yeah.
but I'll start there.
Floods.
And I want to tell you
Floods.
the place you should avoid as a real
Okay.
estate buyer if you're afraid of it.
So which one do I fear the most? Floods, hail, drought, and tornadoes. Without a doubt, and maybe because I grew up in New England, the one I fear the most is tornadoes. I don't like the thought of that damn funnel cloud coming to get me. I don't like that.
Stormnadoes it is. Okay.
Yeah,
So if you're afraid of stormnadoes,
I am. I just said I was.
the place you shouldn't live,
Yeah.
you can stay in New England.
Don't say Maine. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Maricopa County, Arizona, which is
Maricopa County. Okay.
Phoenix plus the
Uh-huh.
suburbs
Really?
around Phoenix.
They have. I wouldn't have guessed that.
In the last 2 years, they had 155 stormnadoes.
I really. That sounds frightening.
That it's terrifying. And these things,
Yeah.
this includes like lightning storms where the lightning, does damage, heavy thunderstorms, tornadoes themselves, high winds. These are NOAA categorized as severe weather events. So this is
Okay.
155 severe stormnado weather events in Phoenix or the surrounding area. I would have thought Phoenix
Okay.
was like the heat capital of the world.
Right.
Today, there are about 21,000 properties for sale in Maricopa County, including this gem, which I pulled off of Zillow. 1.5 million for a lovely ranch, 4-bed, 4-bath, about 4,300 square feet, just in the suburbs. Now, I will say, when I pulled
It looks dusty. Yeah.
this property, it does look a little like it would be prone to a massive dust storm. Like it does seem
great.
like it would blow away. So,
All right.
buyers beware. If you are terrified of stormnadoes, surprisingly, Phoenix may not be for you.
Well, you know what? It wasn't already, so good. I'm glad to learn this.
Now, I will tell you, the thing I fear is actually hail.
Hail. Okay.
Hail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially someone throwing baseballs from space.
Okay. So to be fair, you fear baseball-sized hail, not little itty bitty cute hail.
No. I'm not talking about like, baby hail. I'm talking about baseballs from space. The place
Okay.
I'm definitely not moving, El Paso County, Colorado, which is Colorado Springs.
Okay.
203 extreme hail events
Wow.
since 2018. 203.
Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
That's like
Good for
half
you,
the year they
El
get
Paso
hail.
County.
I'm not
That-
I'm not totally sure how they're counting this at
so can
NOAA.
you imagine you're high out of your mind on the legal weed out there in Colorado, and then there's baseball sized hail coming down at you.
No joke. And there
Yeah.
are currently about 2,700 properties for sale in El Paso County, Colorado, including
Right.
this beauty for
Ooh,
about
that does look
1.4
nice.
million, 4-bed, 5-bath,
I like
8,000
that.
square feet at the top of the mountain, so you get hit by the hail first. Like, just get me out of that house.
But
It's
you
not
can
going to
warn your
happen.
friends at least. Yeah.
And the hail I'm talking about is it seriously is the size of your palm. It's not like
Ugh.
tiny bits of hail. It's like monster hail.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the two that we didn't talk about. We'll talk about
Okay.
heat first.
Heat.
I hate being hot.
Sure.
I really don't like it. So this one, it's not as terrifying as hail because it feels like you can escape it with air conditioning. But at least in this instance, prepare to pay a lot for your air conditioning. The worst county to be in for heat, Crittenden County, Arizona, Arkansas, rather. Crittenden County, Arkansas.
Arkansas. That surprises me.
Memphis
Okay.
suburbs. They had 17 major heat events
Really?
in the last 2 years.
What is a major heat event? Just
A
really
major
hot?
heat event looks a lot like this map that I just put up, which is
Okay.
breaking all-time records for heat in the area at any
Just
point during the year.
ridiculous hotness.
It's just absurd hotness, and with
Yeah.
the humidity there, it's just nuts. I pulled so there are about 147 properties for sale
Mm-hmm.
in this county in Arkansas, including this $1.1 million
Ooh,
5-bed,
that
6-bath for 6,000 square
lovely.
feet.
Yeah.
Now this is like an old, old style, like lovely little big old house.
Yeah.
Plan to spend $500,000 just keeping it cool because you will probably melt otherwise.
Okay.
Last but not least,
Mm-hmm.
we have to talk about floods. And I
Yeah,
mentioned
floods,
this
let's do it.
yesterday because the number one place for floods is not someplace you necessarily expect. It is Fairfax County, Virginia.
Oh, really?
The
Okay. Yeah, you
Washington,
mentioned this.
D.C.
That
suburb.
surprised me. Yeah.
141 flood events in the last 2 years.
Wow.
These things sound absurd to me. 141. There are 365 days in a year.
Yeah,
That's,
I know.
That's like a third of a year.
Yes.
More.
I don't know. How are you putting up with that? I don't know. I don't know what's going. What
People.
I mean, what?
Move. Just
Yeah,
don't
it's
live there
ridiculous.
anymore. Move
Get
to
a grip.
Canada.
Yeah.
There are 2,300 properties for sale, including a $2.1 million butte that I pulled, 7-bed, 7-bath, 8,900
I
square
don't like
feet.
that one. No, that looks
This
like a
one
McMansion.
looked a lot like this, which, if you're listening, is
Mm-hmm.
basically a giant swimming pool. And roughly 140 times
Sounds
a year,
nice.
you can probably expect something like that. So
Yeah. Ugh.
I've given you a couple counties to think about.
Yeah. It's good.
If you had
I
to
like it.
choose which one to live in, where would you go?
Despite your fear of hail,
Oh,
I like the look of that place in Colorado.
Damien is buying a $1.3 million house at the top of a hail mountain.
Yeah. I'll just on those days I will find friends in the lower areas and I will hide underneath their pickup trucks or I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yeah.
I plan
That's what
on
I'm-
moving to Arkansas,
Oh no.
where I can avoid the heat by going to local shopping malls.
Yeah, and you can have gummy, sweaty feet all year round. No one needs that, man.
We all need that. I think that I think you underestimate.
A beautiful Matt makes today, Matt.
Very simple today.
Very informative.
Matt makes nonsense is what this segment should be called.
No. Please subscribe to this podcast, Business Pants, on your favorite podcast provider, or watch us online at YouTube, Twitch, anywhere else.
Periscope. We're on Periscope.
I don't even know what that is, but go there and watch us.
Thanks,
I will
Damien.
talk to you tomorrow, Matt.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.